What is happening, folks? Welcome to my five to follow for the flat this season. We've already got Dean's. He's went for a few, I suppose, lower rated handicappers that he has found some interest in, and in fairness, I agree with him on them all, really. Um, I will start with mine. I've gone for, I suppose, ones that I think will be running in listed races and group races this year, and none of them have won a group race yet, and I am hoping that they will this year. So we'll crack into it anyway. And the first horse I have is a gel trained by Roger Varian. This is a 3-year-old filly, and she runs in the Hamdan Al Maktoum colours. This girl is also a sister to Calusi, and what we got from her debut is that she finishes very, very quickly and seems to have an electric turn of foot. She really impressed me that day, and I really expect her to see. I'd really expect to see her in a lot of the group races this year for 3-year-olds. Moving on to the second horse on this list, it's Charmed. Joseph O'Brien trains him. He's a 3-year-old again. For those of you that have watched their Dundalk previews in the past, you will have heard me mention this horse numerous times. The form lines through him have been very good, in fairness, and I really believe this could be a group horse. I've said it in them videos before, and I stand by my word. I do think Charmed is good enough to be in group races, and I'm very interested to see where Charmed pops up next. We'll move on anyway to the third horse on this list. It's the only Aidan O'Brien horse that I have put into this. I know Aidan has a huge string, and you could have picked any of them, but there's one in particular that I really liked. Willow. She's a 3-year-old filly. She's an American Pharaoh filly at that. She was one I was very, very excited about last year, and in fairness, she didn't start off very good. I suppose she got beat in her first two races, but she did pick up throughout them races. You could see the improvement coming through in them races, and then she went on and won her third race of the season, which was her last time out, I suppose. She is entered into both the UK and the Irish 1000 Guineas. As well as that, she's entered into the Irish Oaks. Now, I do believe she will be a major player for the Aidan O'Brien yard this year, and could be one of the top horses from his yard this year. Moving on, then we will go to Volcanic. He is a 4-year-old colt. Now, it's interesting that he's still a colt, because obviously John and Thady Gustin believe he's good enough to stay a colt, I suppose. And in fairness, he has potential to be an absolute star. His races have worked out very, very well as well. He won on debut in impressive fashion. There was so many people raving about him. I was very excited to see this horse progress. He was a bit disappointing then. He finished third. But looking back on that race, it now looks very, very impressive. At the time, you'd be saying, right, this horse isn't going to do much. But now looking back at what the winner of that race has done, you are definitely seeing you're seeing that race in a different light. The winner of that race was, of course, Mishrif, who has went on and won the richest race in the world, the Saudi Cup in Riyadh, and then went on and won the Dubai Shima Classic. Look, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Volcanic. He's entered into a handicap race at Pontefract, I think it is. This video will be out the day of the races, so hopefully we're starting, our first horse out will be a winner. I'm not sure what time this is going up, so I might cut this bit out if he turns out to be really bad. But I'm very hopeful that we will start off with a winner in Volcanic. Moving on then the fifth horse, sorry, of this list, Xario, is a 3-year-old colt. He is new to the David Manoisia yard. He has come over from France, where he won a maiden at Clairefontaine. He then went to Longchamp and didn't really perform. Look, that's probably a big reason why he is with David now, because as we know, David is a master of getting horses to perform. He is entered into the 2000 Guineas this year, and I think Xario could be a wee shock, a wee star that's come from the ashes, and I'm hoping Xario could be a very good horse this year. Moving on then, at the midway point of this is Confide, a 5-year-old gelding trained by James Macaulay, previously owned by Cheveley Park. Macaulay picked this up for a nice sum, and as we know, he loves picking up value. The likes of Skeptical he's picked up a few other ones along the way. I really believe he's found another bit of value here with Confide. He was second on first run for Macaulay at Dundalk a few weeks back, and that was a very tidy race in fairness. And look, I'd say Confide is going to be a big contender this year in the Premier Handicaps and the listed races. He could go on and win a few of them, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see him win a few. Now, the next horse on this race is the only 2-year-old in this list, Anadora, trained by Kevin Ryan. One of the first 2-year-olds to win this season, and she was very, very game and stayed on very strongly in that race. Look, obviously at this stage it's hard to tell with these 2-year-olds because there isn't any form lines. They're all making their debuts. A lot of them are very green, so it's not a lot to work off. But on that performance alone, I think Anadora deserves a spot in this list. She was the class act of the field. The winning second, I think her name was Pink Storm, looked very good as well. But for me, the winner, Anadora, definitely deserves to be in this list. Seemed to be a class above as well. Kevin Stott wrote it absolutely perfectly as well. Anadora is entered into the Super Sprint Stakes at Newbury. That is a massive prize pool. That's in July. So it'll be interesting to see, I suppose, how she gets on throughout the year, and it'll be one that I will be keeping a close eye on this year, and hopefully, based off that run, she can turn into quite a star. The next horse on this list is Brother, a 3-year-old colt, the second horse trained by Roger Varian in this list. This is the one that Ross Ryan told us in a recent interview on the Irish Racing Hour. Ross had told us that this is the one he's most excited about this season. Look, it's not hard to see why. He won on debut, then won his third race, then got beat by McSweeney in the Futurity Stakes. Brother is entered into both the UK and the Irish 2000 Guineas, and look, you might as well take it from Ross as take it from me. Like, if he believes it's good enough, I fairly agree with him, in fairness. And looking back on him, I'd agree even more. I think he's going to be a very big star this year. And the next horse on this list, is Forbearance, a 4-year-old filly trained by Jesse Harrington, was 6th on debut in July. That is looking like a really good maiden. She then went on and won at Dundalk, stepping down to a mile, beating the Dillon, who's since gone on and lost that maiden tag, beating Myshar. Yeah, look, I think Forbearance is a very good horse. She's the daughter of Galileo, and she's got brilliant pedigree. Look, she's got a huge chance of making a name for herself if she carries on the way she's going. Moving on to the second Joseph O'Brien trained horse on this list. It's a 3-year-old colt. Its name is I Love Sark. This lad blew the field away at Dundalk on debut. Bet him by about 5 lengths. Was very comfortable. He holds entries into the 2000 Guineas, the Dante Stakes, and the Irish Guineas. He also is going to be running next weekend, I do believe. and that will tell us an awful lot. It's going to be the second horse that on this list that will be running next week, and I'm hopeful Isle of Sark will prove why he's on this list in that race. Now, moving on to the second last horse on this list, it is a 3-year-old colt, the second out of David Manuizia's yard. It's Bellocchio. Bellocchio won on debut at Salisbury at a nice price, and then went over to France to Toulouse and won a listed race over there in very impressive fashion. He'll most likely be at the right end of the fields this year and could turn into quite the stable star for Manuizia this year. I'm very hopeful. A real striking horse, this one. Very strange colours. One that will catch the eye, and hopefully for the right reasons. Now, the final horse on this list is one for, I suppose, the American racing fans out there. Trained by Bob Baffert. It's not hard to see why I put this horse in. It's called Triple Top. He's a 3-year-old colt. He ran at Santa Anita last time out on debut. And look, if you want the definition of an easy ride, go watch that race back. It's on YouTube. You can watch it back. Literally, I could have won. I could have sat in the back and I still would have won. He is a half brother to Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh, who has been mentioned in this list already. So this is the second one that ties in with American Pharaoh. You are going to hear the name Triple Top quite a lot this year, I reckon. I think he can emulate some of that form of his brother, and I reckon he's going to be winning some big races this year.